information about myself so that you know from where I'm coming from. As sir mentioned, I'm from 2012-14 batch. And while I'm going through this, I would also request you guys to share about yourselves in the chat, which could be, are you a current student? Do you have work experience? And what kind of learnings you are looking from the session? I would try to customize during the talk so that I could answer most of your queries also. Uh, and all of the learnings which I'm going to share, you need to consider these are my personal learnings plus a lot of stuff I've picked from other great PMs who have been in the industry, something like old people like Marty Kagan, who is from Silicon Valley product group, and to the recent ones like Shreyas Doshi, if you're following Twitter and LinkedIn. So all of this learning is curated and you can find some of these across internet, but my goal is to give you a concise version so that you can start on your product management journey. So feel free to keep writing in the chat. Are you a current student? What is your work profile? And what are you looking from the today's talk? Just a short background about myself. Currently, I'm working as a group product manager in Chingari, heading multiple charters like engagement, retention, monetization, etc. In my past, I have had the chance to work with multiple companies such as Paytm, Fincare Small Finance Bank, HDFC, TCS, etc. Overall, I have 9 years of experience, in which seven plus experience I have in the product management field. This is the short agenda which I thought that I will give you information about. Primarily, this covers, what is product management, more specifically, what it's not, so that you guys can differentiate what is the right job of PM, what is not supposed to focus on a day-to-day basis, what it does once you are doing the PM job right, how the success looks like, product development process, how it goes, what are the core skills which are required for you, how do you grow those skills. I'll also give you a framework or at least couple of points to decide if PM is the right career for you if you're looking to enter into it. And if you decide so, what is the right way to get into it? What are the initial tips and tricks? How do you crack interview? I'll also share a couple of things which has worked for me so that you can take some advice from that. In the end, we will try to keep 10-15 minutes for the Q&A. If you come across any question during the course, feel free to put that in the chat so that I can answer that in the end. Okay, cool. Starting from what is product management, it is one of those fields which is heavily popularized in the last couple of years. But this is not a new field. This is as old as the internet itself. And in the today's context, we are only going to focus on a very specific type of product, which is digital products. When I say digital product, app which you use, a website which someone has made, it could be Facebook, it could be TikTok for that matter. And it could range from consumer internet to B2B companies also. There could be enterprise product, there could be SaaS product, which is software as a service products. So today, the focus area is going to be the digital set of products. How do you define a product? So while there could be a lot of definition towards it, one of the basic one is a product is something which is solving a problem or satisfying a user need. Sometimes there could be products which are satisfying only a need and might not be, solving a problem directly. But a successful product is one which solves either a problem or satisfied a core need of a user, the end user. The second major word is management, which involves a lot of things. The main one of that is discovery. So when I say discovery, I mean what is the problem? Figuring out the problem is the most important piece in the product management. What is that we are going to do? And once that is resolved, then the rest of the process is fairly easy for you to do, which is overseeing the end-to-end execution of that product or that feature. So starting with why. What is the pain point we are going to solve for user, the end user? So that is one of the main job of a product manager. What you also need to focus on as a product manager while you are solving for a user pain point, user problem. One of the major goal of you as a product manager is to marry that with the needs of the businesses, because you are falling somewhere in between business and user, and you need to see that the business goal is also met. If you're able to create that value, you are going to succeed as a product manager. So the business piece is really very important. In a lot of talks or a lot of influencer stuff, you will see that you have to be really a customer advocate. But what you don't get told is you have to marry that with the business goal. It could be profitability, it could be engagement for some time. So you have to understand what the business needs and then marry these two. Otherwise, the world is slightly difficult. Then focus on the how part. Okay, you have figured out, what is the problem we are going to solve? Why is that problem a very important problem? Then you also need to decide on the how part, which will form the day-to-day stuff from a product management perspective. It will include a lot of collaboration with multiple stakeholders and then ensuring that the goal, the problem which you had taken gets resolved. Collaboration is a keyword because depending upon the company type, the company size, the kind of product and the project you are working on, you will need to talk to different stakeholders, understand their language, understand their needs, and then work with them. Once you launch a product, once you launch a feature, then you need to reiterate that process. You need to collect some data. You need to collect feedback. Are users using it the way you wanted them to, or they have figured out some different use cases, or they are not using at all? Look at all the data points and then keep reiterating to serve customer need as well as solve business, uh, solve for business goals also. Now comes the most important part. While we get fixated on the product discovery piece, a lot of times you will figure out that this is what you end up doing. Now, I'm not saying that these all things are bad as such, but you need to understand that this is not the core job of a product manager, which is, let's say, project management, ensuring that the engineering team is delivering, the marketing team is working on time, they are doing the promotions, launch as required, talking to multiple stakeholders in the company, let's say compliance or legal, to gather requirement and then just pass. No, these are not the primary jobs of a PM. But what happens in a day-to-day life is you will get to execute or do a lot of these things also, depending upon what kind of company you are working at, what is their culture, what is the team size. So I would urge all of the people who are in the PM field not to get bogged down by this, but take this as a stepping stone that if required, you do the project management also. But just be aware that this is not what you're supposed to do at a core level. The the things on the left side, which is why, how, and iterating and making the product better, that is your core job. So just to summarize, as a good PM, as a PM, you need to build stuff which is useful, usable, and feasible. Moving on, what a PM actually does. So this is where it gets slightly tricky because there is no straight answer for this. You will, if you talk to 10 PMs, you will find them all doing different stuff. But at the core of all of it, the goal is to solve a user problem, a customer problem. So ensuring the business goals are achieved. How do you do that? You start by identifying the user pain points, that what is the user is actually looking for. There could be different ways to do it. Sometimes you will get that from customer support team. Sometimes you will be looking at the funnel at some data point and then figure out that there is a problem. A lot of times, if you are working in a big company, you will work with the user research team to nail down on the customer pain point. A lot of times, the priorities will also be defined from a business perspective, that you need to achieve certain goals and certain metrics, and that is why it is a priority. But again, when in that scenario, also you need to nail down on the user pain point. Once you have the pain points listed, you will try to figure out some solutions for it. That there are possible two, three, four, five solutions. It could be product solutions. It could be non-product solutions such as operations, quick hacky way to do some stuff. But you will need to go through all the solutions, work with your stakeholders to prioritize. Prioritize being the keyword, because in every organization you are going to work in, the resources are going to be limited, be it a small company, be it big company like a Google or Facebook. You'll always have to prioritize that what is important for me, what are the next two, three top items which my team can do at this given point of time. This is slightly tricky because you will also want to bring everyone on the same page, and that's not as simple as it sounds. I'll just bring the screen for you. What a PM actually does. Discovery, what to solve, one of the most important parts. If you master this, your 50% of the job is already done, because this is one of the most important points on what to solve. Second is your bread and butter, which is stakeholder management. You will work with business, you will work with design, engineering, QA, risk, compliance, infosec, etc. There could be a lot of teams with which you will have to work with. Primarily, you will have to figure out in your company what is important, what is required, work with your seniors, work with your supervisor to figure out which are the important stakeholders. Try to build relationship with all of them, so that when the time comes, you have your stakeholders already aligned. If not, you'll have to figure out how do you align them. And one of the key ways of doing that is by having a good communication, understanding what everyone wants, so that you can marry all of their needs, navigate through all of the circumstances, and then get your feature or product idea delivered. While you will be doing this for new projects, you will be firefighting, solving a bug, solving something wrong which has happened, a production issue. So a lot of your time is firefighting is going to take. In between all of this, when you are working for a new feature, your org will ask you to do a lot of documentation, which is required. Initially, what you might feel is that this is not one of those areas which you like, and you'll want your hands to directly get into the execution. But believe me, documentation is one of the important areas, primarily because it will give you clarity about the problem you are going to solve and the goals which you are trying to achieve. As a PM, you will need to get your hands dirty. You will need to work with SQL. You might need to work with data analysts, product analysts, and do a lot of number crunching. It could be as simple as checking the usage of feature. It could be as complex as looking at funnels, why a feature is working, or a specific A/B function, A/B testing which you did is right or not. Does it have some sort of biases? So depending upon the company, you will need to brush up your skills and do a lot of data crunching. Meetings is one of the unfortunate reality of the life, just like taxes and death. If you are a PM, you can't avoid meetings. You will need these meetings for giving updates, taking updates from other team members, working with engineering for sprint planning. When I say sprint, I'll just give you clarity. A lot of companies divide the tasks into a smaller chunks, which could be 2 weeks of development or engineering effort with some time allocated for a from a QA perspective. QA is quality assurance, which also goes by testing or unblocking any other team. It could be marketing, it could be some legal team looking for some clarification. So you will need to navigate through all of the meetings and then unblock any team which is required. As a PM, your job is to unblock everyone so that everyone can move towards achieving the goal which they agreed to. Plus, this is one of the interesting areas. Some of the people like it, some of the people don't like it. But anything which does not have a clear owner, most likely as a PM, you will end up doing that. But don't get bogged down by this. This is one of those things which helps you shape up your career. Now, this all things what I mentioned that a PM does, this will vary. And some of the important things are in what company you are working, what is the product you are handling? Is it a B2B product? Is it a B2C product? Is it a 0 to 1 product? Is it a mature product which you are trying to scale up? In which industry you are working in? Is it a fintech product which is heavily regulated, or it is some innovation product or keeping product? And what kind of team you are working with. So the overall flavor is going to remain the same, but a lot of it will vary with different industries. Let's say you are working with Amazon, the focus is going to be on documentation a lot. But let's say you are working with a 0 to 1 startup in a B2C world, might be the documentation is not that much, and it is just focused around discovery and then launching a lot of features and stuff really quick. Now, if you are doing the PM job, right, this is one of those things which you will eventually end up doing. These are some of the examples. Again, this could vary depending upon the organization you are working with. Is like if you are using Gmail, there is a feature wherein Gmail prompts you that are you missing attachment. So some earlier it was not there. Somebody in the product team figured out that this could be a good pain point. For use for them to solve for the users. Example could be increasing the revenue. A PM introduced Uber search pricing, which gets a lot of revenue for Uber. Increased engagement at Chingari, which is like, let's say my company, and it was one of my goal. Reducing drop off in a user funnel. So a lot of people are opening the product detail page on Flipkart, but they are not moving it to the next page and they are not adding to the cart. What could be possible reason? Improving customer support, uh, reducing turnaround time for anything in your product area. Again, these are some of the examples and will vary with your team when you join. Now, I would want to give a bit of clarity for the people who are just right now in college and they have not ventured into the PM roles, so that you get to understand how the whole product development process works in an organization. Normally, this is the core structure wherein you will have an idea. Now, the idea could come from multiple places, such as customer support team again, or a analysis of product team, or something which the management has prioritized, or it is just a compliance requirement. Once you have some product idea, some feature idea, you will work with the design to get a prototype out, some high level design already done. You will work with your engineering. You will write PRDs, which are product requirement documents, help explain all the product feature in detail. You will create Jira. Jira is a tool for engineering team so that the tasks could be broken for each individual team, let's say, which could be backend, which could be Android, iOS team, QA teams, things like that. Once you have done that, you will work with the engineering team to prioritize, and then it will go in the development, which is the engineering phase. Once it is done, then you come the whole feature is given for the quality assurance for the testing team. Once everyone signs off, then you do a launch. This is a very high level straight process, but normally in the company, what will happen is you will act as a center point in between different teams and you will talk to each of these people in different frequency at different time intervals to ensure that the launch happens. So you will need to work with business, marketing, infosec, etc., etc. So these are your core stakeholders, and you will need to start working with them. So again, the point which I'm trying to land here is it's not a very straight process. You will at most of the times you will need to juggle a lot of communication to make things happen. Now, if you are looking to get into the PM, what are the skills required? How do you get entry into the PM? And this sort of fairly works for junior levels till SPM level, which is senior product manager. So normally how the hierarchy goes is associate, assistant product manager, then product manager. Some companies will also have PM1, PM2, PM3 kind of thing. And then eventually you get into the senior product manager role. Now, some of the very basic skills which you need to have is analytical. When I say analytical, it means can you look at the data and then figure out what is wrong? Can you get derive some insight from analytical data? Can you improve your product sense? And how are your execution capabilities? I've tried to give you some more information on this. That what do I mean by analytical skills? So, are you really logical person? Can you remove your biases and then try to think from the first principles? Can you do number crunching? Can you recognize pattern in the data? Probabilistic thinking. If this happens, what is the next step which could possibly happen? Uh, Same for product sense. I have given you a couple of things that are you really empathetic towards user? Do you have the domain knowledge? So now this becomes really important for some of the product areas, let's say, which is a fintech product or an enterprise product. And let's say you are working on security features. So now you need to understand about that domain. Let's say if it is a telecom product, you need to understand about the domain. And are you really creative? Like, can you think about something which again solves the user problem? And then for a PM to be successful, you will need to start delivering. And how do you deliver? By having the right problem solving skills, project management skills, and org navigation. Now, what this means is in the net, are you able to manage stakeholders? Are you able to navigate through the organization and then get your stuff done? Because most of the time as a PM, you will not have direct control over any of the other functions because most of the functions are reporting to their managers, be it marketing, design, engineering. So you will need to develop these skills so that you can get the things delivered. Now, this is one of the things which is common, and you need to have all of these, which is critical thinking, influential communication. Because if you have to work with a lot of stakeholders, the one way to convince them is by having the influential communication. Sometimes logic will work, sometimes it will not. But if you are able to convince people by hook or crook or by developing the right skill sets, then you will succeed as a PM. This is something which is not said a lot of time, so I thought I will give you that information also. That you have to be willing to work in chaos and then thrive in chaos. What do I mean by that? Primarily, as a PM, most likely when problem statements will be given to you or it will come to you, it might you might not have full clarity. So what you need to do is you need to nail down to the right problem statement and then start giving clarity to other teams who are involved. So let's say a marketing person comes and says that what is our value proposition. So you can't say that I'm figuring out. You need to tell him two, 3 points that these are some of the value prop. If an engineering person comes and asks that why we are doing this, you should have a clear answer. You are letting them know that this is some experiment which you are doing, and then there is some goal achieved. You can't go empty-handed that okay, we are just doing because someone said so, because then you are not able to really command respect. I want you to take a note of these skills. Uh, Now, some of you people will have this question that I'm good in one, I'm not good at all. How do I improve that? So, about improving, we'll cover in the next slide. But as a thumb rule, what you should want to do is you would want to be good, like really good in one of these categories, then like average in the second one, and might be okay in the third one. So let's say you are really good in the analytical skills, and then product sense is average, and execution is manageable. Then that works. But thumb rule is try to be great in one of these areas, be it execution, analytical, or product sense. My personal favorite is getting the product sense right because it's a mostly transferable skill. Once you get this right, you could possibly apply this in another industry also if required. And my second best favorite is execution at junior levels. But if you are moving up from junior levels to senior levels, then this becomes slightly less important. If somebody in the audience is already in the PM, so this is for those people. For people who are just entering into PM, this might not be very relevant. So I'll just skip in the interest of time. Now, how do you improve these skills? So, as I was speaking, let's say if you're talking about the product sense, so how do you develop empathy? So, to develop that, you can use this framework. If you're thinking about any feature, try to get into a stage where you are thinking about the user. How is the end user going to interact with this? Uh, is his environment good? In terms of in what environment he is using this. Let's say a mobile is a product, and if the user is using in the bright day sunlight. So, as a PM, are you thinking about the screen brightness? So, if you start thinking in this direction, you start developing empathy. And that is really important because if you can get to a that level, your PM skill starts improving, your product sense skill starts improving. If it is a technical product, start improving your domain knowledge. Let's say currently I'm in the short video space in Chingari. So I needed to learn about the short video streaming, how the video is encoded, how it is decoded. Once I have that information, I will be able to interact easily with engineering team first. Also, I would be able to understand what is feasible, what is not feasible, and then have a very base understanding to improve features. Because a lot of time, what happens, a specific pain point could be solved from a technology which was not existing. Let's say the use of VR and AR. If you understand the technology, what it is capable of, you could be creative and then figure out some really good solutions for your user, for your product. From a domain knowledge perspective, you could also think that are you working in fintech? So you need to start understanding about those. You need to start understanding about, let's say, telecom industry. And creativity, basically understand what is the exact problem, how do you solve in the best way, and can it really delight the users? Delight is the keyword because a lot of times you will be able to just solve the problem. But as a PM, can you go beyond that and then delight the users? Because that is what is going to give you the maximum impact. Now, moving on to the next thing, is PM the right career choice for me? So, while this is really picking up as a trend, what I would want you to focus on is asking these questions to yourself. As a person, are you really, able to survive in ambiguous environment? And there is nothing right or wrong here because some people like the processes already set up. Some people like that the goals are really, broken down and given to them with a clear path. And but PM role is not like that in most of the companies. Here you will be dealing with a lot of ambiguity. You will be dealing with a lot of stakeholders, and you will have to figure out. So, can you survive in ambiguity? If yes, then this is one of the really good careers. But if you feel that you cannot survive in ambiguous environment, then it might not be a really good choice. Are you self-driven? As I was mentioning, PM as a career, you have to really be self-driven and do a lot of things because PM teams will be generally small and the hierarchy will be fairly flat. So what you will be given is you will be given multiple charters or a single charter depending on the team size, and then you will be asked to drive. Most likely, you will be working with your manager, supervisor, or CPO to set some OKRs, some goals that we need to move revenue by this much. We need to solve for these and these user problems, and they will leave you with that. Now it will be totally your responsibility to figure out how to do that, how to achieve that, and then unblock all the other people. So you really need to be self-driven and be okay to work with less oversight. Third one is communication. I have tried to emphasize on this point multiple times. This is one thing which you are doing the most, which is talking to other people, trying to resolve some problem, trying to understand what the user need are, what a stakeholder need is, and then eventually delivering. So being able to speak in everyone's voice, trying to understand what everyone is thinking, and doing the right communication with everyone, that is really very important. If you think that you will be able to develop this or you have a knack for this and you really want to solve problems which impacts um, hundred thousands of user or are really going to solve business problems, then PM could be a right career for you. But you should be thinking about this really well, because let's say if you're not able to survive in ambiguity, then you should definitely double think about your career choice. Now I'll just slightly increase the speed because we have less time. How do you want to get into this? Let's say if you're not already APM, so how do you get into PM from other functions? This other functions could be consulting. This other function could be, let's say, project management or some sort of a CEO office role. So how do you get into this? First is the best way is to ask internally if you see that there is a function already inside your company called as product management or product. Try to talk to these people and say that, okay, I'm willing to solve this problem. Are you, open to give me a chance? So that could be one of the easiest way to get inside. If you are not able to do this internally, the second best source is ask your friends. You are going to have a lot of batchmates. Some of them will be doing the product management. So ask those friends, ask your batchmates. If all of this does not work, you could potentially want one of the easy way to do that is writing cold emails and connecting with CEOs of, let's say, startups and sending them a communication that, hey, I'm willing to solve this problem for you. Are you willing to bet on me? While this might sound like a really tedious advice, but the chances of this working is really high if you customize your approach, which is you, let's say, give them 4 or 5 observations which you saw on their website or app that, hey, Mr. CEO, these are some of the problems, or this is a Google sheet which lists down all of these problems, and there are these 3 or 4 solutions which you could potentially be doing. And I'm interested in, let's say, interning with you or joining you as a APM PM. That could be one of those ways to get inside. Uh, if all of this does not work and you still want to do it, one of the easy advices or hard from where you look at it, start your own startup and then be the product manager which you wanted to be. If you are trying to go into any other company, then this is a framework which you could possibly use. Identify if the talent is good. This will help you establish if the product is eventually going to be successful, because it's not the idea which generally matters. It's about the people who are solving that. Do they have the right ability to understand the user problem, build right solutions? So figure out if the people who are already working in a company, they are going to, if you feel that those are the right people, then definitely go and join. Try to figure out these two things, that the sector is growing and the company itself is growing. This will give you one signal that the product on which the company is working on, it is really going to be long term and you can build a career there. And the last one is you should be seeing some sort of synergy in terms of the sector and the domain in which the company is operating in. Let's say as a person, I am not really into very B2B enterprise products, which are, let's say, operating on the cloud or a networking area. So this is a sector or a domain which I'm not open to. But other companies which are working in B2C space, that is a sector which I like. So I would want to shortlist these kind of companies. Again, a couple of things which I want you to take away from this is, one of the really important things is networking, uh, figuring out the right person who can help you. And you are a better judge what works for you. Cold emailing works for you, or let's say networking with your friends or batchmate works for you. And proof of concept, primarily, if you are trying to approach someone, if you give something which is of value to them, then it might be helpful for you also. Now, let's say if you get to the product management, interview, you have got a shortlist somewhere. How do you enter into that? So a lot of this is already available online, but just to summarize, these are some of these important things which are going to help you eventually. One of the really famous questions which is asked in a product interview is product design question. This is some question like, what is your favorite product? How are you going to improve this? Do you use Google Maps? Can you build a Google Maps solution for kids? Something on these lines. So the best way to practice for these is watch a couple of YouTube videos, try to form a product peer group, and then solve the problem on your own. Product RCA. This is a fairly standard question, and most of the people who are in college, who are early in their career, who they will remember uh, why is this metric going down. So you will get a theoretical question that as an Instagram PM, you see that the engagement of the time spent on the videos is going down. How do you approach this problem? So again, you can go to YouTube and understand how these problems are solved. Guesstimate, this is primarily people who are interested in consulting, they would already know about this. But this is those kind of questions that as how many people would be traveling in Bangalore by train every day? Again, the primary goal of asking this question is to see, can you really do back of the envelope calculations? Can you think about pros and cons? Can you think about the right factors, at least in the right direction? Nobody is going to look at the if the answer is really right or not. And one of the main things is when you are doing a guesstimate, the ability to critique your answer, critique the answer yourself, which is, can you be really a thoughtful person and try to think if you have done anything wrong in your approach? Know your resume like the back of your hand, which primarily means is if you have written anything in the resume, you should be having a deep answer, at least a story, which is why you actually did this, what was the goal, how did you achieve, what is the result. There is a very simple framework which is called a STAR framework: situation, task, then result. I'm forgetting the A, but try to think about all of the resume points in that direction. Then practice really well. Basically, you should have a speaking ability for 2 to 3 minutes on each of the line which you are going to write in your resume. That will give you the depth and breadth. Again, this is the last question, and after this, we'll go to the Q&A session. What worked for me? How did I improve my skill sets, or how did I eventually ended up in the PM career? I formed a product group basically with a couple of really close friends, and I started discussing more things about product in general. This helped me refine my skill sets, also helped me learn from my peers. So you can also try this product tear downs. So this is one of those things which I still keep doing whenever I get time, which is why this product works and why this product does not work. What you can possibly do is you can just start an onboarding journey of any product and then write comments on each screen, which is, what is the use of this, for what customer segment this will make more sense. Is it really not helpful? Then why not? Also think in this direction that why this will eventually work or why this will not work or why this feature had failed. Let's say why Orkut was eventually shut down, why Google Plus did not work, or why some of the features in Zomato or Swiggy, which you were seeing 2 years back, but that is not visible now. The next thing is you can follow some of the really good people on, let's say, Twitter, which is now X, YouTube. You can read some books. But the key advice which I want you to leave with is choose these resources really wisely, because on internet you will see a lot of resources. Couple of them are good, couple of them are average. So you need to figure out what really has value for you. A couple of the ones which I follow is, let's say, Lenny's podcast. Then there is Shreyas Toshi, Marty Kagan, as I was initially mentioning. So figure out what resources work for you. If you are looking for product management interviews on YouTube, let's say there is a channel called it's Exponent. So you could possibly want to try that. This is one of the really cool things. Build a side project. Once you start doing this, you will learn a lot about product management. Believe me, I've tried this. This works. And now in the ChatGPT, in the Gen AI era, uh, you could possibly work with ChatGPT as a partner and give it a right query and start talking to it in terms of why this product could be working or anything. And that will help you start the conversations. Again, this is not a foolproof way because you have to really know what you are asking for. But what I would advise is use this with caution, and most likely this will help you if you're not able to find anyone to discuss things with. With this, I would like to end my talk, and we can open up the floor for questions. This is my LinkedIn QR if you want to reach to me on email. If you are seeking any help, any mentorship, you want to talk about anything related to product management, feel free to reach out to me over email or over LinkedIn. You can scan the QR code on LinkedIn. If anyone has any question, feel free to unmute the mic and then ask it, or you can use the chat window also. Pratyush, do certifications help? I divide the question in two parts. In If you want to learn, then a couple of these certifications will be able to give you some knowledge, some theory, and if let's say there is a live project associated, yes, your skills will get improved. But having spent almost a decade now in industry, I don't personally feel that certifications are of really any help as such. Uh, Primarily, what helps is building something on your own, having the right skill set and conviction to build stuff. So you will see people, let's say, who are ex-founders or they had started something and then, uh, might be it failed, but those people have fairly high chance to land and end up in the product management role. Okay, cool. So Rishika has another question. The question is, can I share the differences uh, for a PM role at a bank and in a B2C startup? So a couple of things. The stakeholder sort of varies. Banking is a slightly regulated industry. So you will be working with, let's say, compliance and risk team a lot, depending upon the kind of features which you're building. That is one. Second is, in general, banking, you will feel that it's slightly slow, and that is second. And depending upon the bank, you might or might not have internal engineering and development team. So a lot of banks, let's say in India and outside also, they work on a vendor model where they will work with multiple vendors. One, let's say there's a backend core banking provider, there could be different layers, which are mobile layers. So they might basically you will end up doing a lot more of project management than the product management per se. Now, in a B2C world, what is going to happen is you will have internal engineering teams, you will have internal pods, and you will be fairly interacting directly with the engineers most of the times. So that is one of the main difference. Plus, most likely you will not see, let's say, very fast deployments in banking world. There, if anything has to go live, you will need InfoSec certification, let's say VAPT, which is vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. But Flipkarts, Myntra, Mishos of the world, you will not be seeing that on a regular basis. Having said that, I don't mean that these companies don't value security, but the speed of execution will be a lot faster in B2C. And in bank, you will not be able to see that level of speed as such. Thanks for that question, Rishika. I was able to speak firsthand because I was part of a bank at the time of launch, which is Fincare Small Finance Bank. And but that was slightly different experience because primarily I was doing a 0 to 1 thing, which was launching a bank. But I figured out once we were able to launch the bank, and I was able to lead a lot of mobile banking, internet banking, digital stuff launch. After that, the speed really became slow. Okay. So I think Kshitiz, you also have a very valid question. Being from a non-technical background, how important is to have knowledge of computer science? It is not important as such, but it also now depends on the kind of product you are working with. So what you need to have is user empathy, that can you really understand about user? Can you build for him? Can you think about him? Can you keep his problems in the center? That is one. So that is one of the core skills which most of the people will be looking for. But having a computer science degree, or let's say understanding, will definitely help in the day execution. But most of this could also be picked up on the job if you are really willing to, learn and ask the right question. A couple of things which you could really focus on is, backend, how a high level architecture could be, what are databases, what are APIs, what are client teams job. So but I will not say that you need to undergo through a short crash course kind of thing, that what are the things which you need to learn. Basically, just watch some engineering interviews and you will figure out. So basically, one of the questions which you could search for is design a YouTube, again, design a Spotify. And if you look at engineering managers interview on YouTube, you will figure out how to think about the structure or architecture as such. One of the point which I want to explain is most likely you will not be asked these questions in an interview, or you will be asked to design a solution in your real life. But what you will be expected to do is to understand the flow. You know, you have opened your app that is called client. Now it sends some data. So how the data flows? What is the structure of API? So slowly you will start picking up more details as you work deeply with engineers. And the more curious you are, you will be able to develop these skills faster. Fun fact about me, I'm a computer science background, but I almost forgot about all of this stuff. And after working in the industry, I picked up most of the stuff. Now I am able to almost sit with engineers and help them see the code also. So that's my take on that. Rahul asks, as a technology product manager, what are my prospects to get into a product role? So Rahul, if you are into the project manager kind of role, you can get into PM. And one of the core things to do is, as I was mentioning, start developing user empathy. That how are you going to solve for the user's problem while keeping business goal in mind. If you are already working with a PM in your role, which is the product manager, try to shadow him or her, learn from him, and slowly ask for more responsibilities. That is one way. A lot of times, what you can also do is you can be more proactive. You can start suggesting about solutions, about ways to do things, and you can start talking to users and then come up with some approach and discuss in your team. So that will help you get into the product role. I hope, Rahul, that answers your question. Next question is from Prajakta. If we work for 1 2 years in non-product management domain, and specifically operations, then how difficult it is to switch from this domain? So it depends again what kind of operations it is. If you're talking about supply chain operations, then one of the things, let's say you could possibly do is there is a lot of supply chain products also. Which are related to operations, and then you could possibly go into those kind of things. So, like I know people who are in Walmart and Amazon, and they build supply chain management products, let's say warehousing, fulfillment on the operation sides, what delivery gets assigned to whom, things like that. So definitely there is a scope to do that. There is a product operations also. So there are 2 3 types of companies. companies which are fairly large and having good vintage, let's say like Google, they don't really care from what domain you are coming into till the time your product skills are really good. The same product skills which we were speaking about in one of the earlier slides, which has product execution, the analytical ability, and the product sense with critical thought plus influential communication. So if you have those skill sets right, it will be easier to get into that. But again, the core focus is on skills. If you have the skills and if you are able to convince someone, which is anyway going to become your part of your day job as a PM, convincing other people, then you can succeed. Couple of people really find it easier to get into product management. One is actually the technical project manager, which Rahul you were asking for. Second is people who are in design domain. Third is people who are, let's say, in consulting or domain, primary consulting or strategy kind of role, because normally they get to see a lot of different variety, business verticals as such, and generally their analytical bent of mind is more. So by design, their analytical skills are okay, and they are able to convince. Sometimes it is easier to transition into PM if you have a really good brand, let's say a category one company, then it becomes slightly easier. But I've seen a whole spectrum of people coming into PM and then eventually succeeding also. So it's not a major problem, but definitely there is going to be some fight and challenges. And as a PM, you should be okay to bear those. What are the products of Chingari at present? So Amit, right now we are doing multiple things. While we started with short video space, I've personally launched multiple products like Chingari Audio Rooms, which is something like Clubhouse, Chingari Live Rooms, which is like Insta Live. We have also Web3 division, wherein we have created a new model, Engage to Earn, wherein people who are spending time on the platform, either as a creator or consumer, they will be able to earn some crypto tokens, which they can eventually sell on the open market in the crypto exchanges and then get some money out of that. So these are some of the multiple products. Very recently, we launched one of the features where, as a consumer, you could call a creator video live and talk to them and basically pay using one of the virtual currency which we have on the app. Again, as a product company, we keep experimenting with multiple ideas. Thanks, Amit. If you have any other questions, feel free to post in the chat. If you want, you can unmute yourself and ask here also. Okay.
Thank you, Abhishek. I think that's it from our side as well. If any of the participants in the meeting have any questions, they already have your email ID and they can reach out to you. So thank you so much, Abhishek, for this session. It was really helpful for the participants, especially in the upcoming placement season. So yeah, thank you, Abhishek.
Thanks, Shubhra. Thanks everyone in the team to organize this, and thanks everyone for joining on the weekend. Feel free to connect with me. I would love to help any of you who are already in college who need any sort of help in terms of how to crack PM interviews. So just be totally, feel free to message me on any of the platforms. Most likely, I will reply in a day or two maximum, yeah. Or I'll reply very fast. But I would be happy to, give help to alma mater people who are right now in college or trying to break into PM field.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Bye.